sense of soul. It's time to awaken.
Today with me on Sense of Soul, I have best-selling author Leigh Mercree. She is a holistic health expert and medical intuitive. Amy teaches internationally, sharing next-level healing, meeting your guides, and more. She is also the host of 2 podcasts, Medical Intuitive Miracles podcast and the Happy Holistic podcast. She's the author of 18 books, A Little Bit of Chakras, the Chakras and Crystals Cookbook, just to name a few. And her most recent book is called Aura Alchemy, where you will learn to sense energy fields, interpret the color spectrum, and manifest success. She also shares her newest creation, Blissful Baths, a 40-card deck filled with a variety of different baths for relaxation, intention setting, alignment, and more. And she's with us today to talk about all of her amazingness. So please welcome Miss Leigh Mercree. Thank you, Amy, for coming on Sense of Soul. I'm super excited. Just to start, though, because I love to hear people's journey, because there's there's always this amazing story behind everyone and how they came into this world, this awakening. So if you mind just sharing with how you came to be where you're at today, an author of how many books now?
18.
Oh my God.
Aura Alchemy is the 18th book. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, plus deck, journal, all the things.
Wow. That's a lot. So that's a lot of work and a lot of teaching. And I share that passion with awakening, the conscious of humanity. So how did you get there?
So I was born intuitive. So I talk a lot in Aura Alchemy about how even as a child, I would see what I used to call the tiny universe, and it was actually subatomic particles. So I was born an empath, an HSP, all the terms, I am, was, all of those. So my journey for a lot of years was about getting grounded, getting in my body. When I was 18, I learned Reiki. I taught Reiki for years too, many years ago. I learned Reiki and I picked up, I was working, I think I was just 18. I was in college, but I was also working as a nanny. I was working while I was in school. And I picked up the late author Lynn Andrews' book, Jaguar Woman, because I was nannying a family of 5 kids. They were a British family. They were crunchy at the time. This was a long time ago. I'm a little bit older. And they didn't have TV. So all the kids were at school or asleep, and I was 18. I was I'm not doing their laundry. I'm gonna pick a book out in this big library because they had a great library. Jaguar Woman was there, and it's Lynn Andrews' book about her shamanic experience in the Yucatan. So it exposed me to this concept of shamanism. So I took some workshops with the Foundation for Shamanic Studies and loved it. And I was and when I read Jaguar Woman, I was this is already what I do. I'd already naturally just been that way. So through that, I ended up through some events meeting my late medicine teacher. So then I got to apprentice in an oral tradition that was passed down from her teacher, back, from the Southwestern American Indians. And they shared it. So they wanted it to go, her teacher's teacher wanted it to share it with people outside of the tribe and wanted it to go further out and proliferate. So I got that foundation. And then when I was 23, I started working with clients. So I've been a medical intuitive now for 23 years. And, obviously my journey has grown and changed over the years. And around, actually pretty early at the time, I received a total system of healing as a channeling. And I created a card deck in a book and I tried to sell it. And I had this vision in 2005 or 6 that it would be published by Hay House and be all over the world. And then nobody bought it. Years went by. That's how I got my literary agent. I wrote 16 more books, and now that deck comes out in 2025 too. So, and Hay House is publishing it because they did Aura Alchemy. So it did happen, but it took like 20 years. But in the interim there, I was kind of like, well, maybe that was just to lead me on this path to write other books. So my first book that came out in 2012 was The Spiritual Girl's Guide to Dating. And I wrote that book because at the time, all my clients were asking about their love lives. And I mean, people still do, but now I'm more known for the medical intuitive side, and it's kind of been, something that I've focused on and more has come in. But so that's kind of how I landed here. Then, all these books later, I was just like, right place, right time. I will say for people who, aspire to write books, because there's a lot of people that do. I do authorship strategy and consulting. I have an author mastermind too that people can join, because it is about perseverance and about, I've also written so many book proposals. Think about 18 books. They don't all sell, but I've learned what sells in a book proposal too. So it is a journey of persevering, but my core has always been about my clients and the things that I can share with my clients to better their lives through my books that also line up with whatever publisher agrees to publish it. There were definitely projects earlier on that were more out there that didn't sell, although the original one did sell 20 years later, so you never know. But
right, exactly. They weren't ready for it.
I think the timing is right. It's going to be right next year, and it's just, what it is.
That's amazing that you at 18.
Like I said, I was born like this. I was always very into science, imaginative, voracious reader. I mean, I have a lot of learning disabilities too, so I had, some challenges in childhood, but I think that those were, now I've learned to harness those as strengths. But yeah, that part was there for me. It still is a journey of being grounded, being embodied, and that's how we affect change or have results in this dimension. I was always out there, so I had to come back down here to make it happen.
Similar. Yeah, I feel you. I just noticed your sunshine up in your corner. Yeah.
You gotta have that.
I've had such a similar journey. I started with Reiki, went into classes under a shaman, took all the journeying classes, and I didn't even really know what I was getting into, though. I grew up, Christian, and deep-rooted Catholic, and so I grew up thinking all this stuff was very hoodoo voodoo, which I also found out that I had Marie the as an ancestor. So once I found that out, I was like,
it's good ancestry to have. That's some powerful stuff in there.
Yeah, and I also found I had a shaman, a great shaman, but that great shaman, and he was from the 1600s. He would have been my Cajun line, but he was known as the medicine man that converted to Christianity forcefully through the Jesuits. So there's a lot of healing, that needed to be done. There's a lot of healing there. For me to be able to kind of move into this world and even accept any of it. And I
feel safe too.
Feel safe. That's good. That's a good word, because that's true. Yeah. But it was through mindfulness and meditation, which you also have many, many books about, and you talk a lot about, that I felt this home within myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think mindfulness and meditation is a great doorway. It kind of does come back to becoming present in the body, whether you're like you or I, where we were out in the ethers, or you're in a body that doesn't feel great and the world doesn't feel great. And so that mindfulness and meditation can be a doorway to then potentially lead you to taking responsibility for how you feel and choosing to feel great, choosing good feeling thoughts, choosing to feel good all the time. And then you start to get in that flow of benevolence, and then it proliferates.
I totally agree with you.
Right?
And that gave me power. That was like this
Yeah.
reclamation of power
Yeah.
that I don't even know for myself in this life if it was a reclamation. I feel like it was the first time I felt power that I had
Yes.
over who I allowed in my
Yes.
life, the boundaries that I could make.
Yes.
I did realize one of the things early on, it's very codependent, very, very codependent most of my life.
Yeah.
But that I really associate that now. I associate that with being very unhealthy in my gift of being an empath, which I think we all have.
That's it. And it's those boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And feeling people physically too.
Yes.
I was a
Yes.
body worker. I mean, it would be specific pain. Someone had left foot pain.
Right.
I'm walking out, my left
You'd
foot
feel it.
hurts. Yeah.
Oh, I've been there.
Thinking, oh my God, this is crazy. Or my child gets hurt at school and I'm nowhere near her. Even
And you
that
feel it.
connection and understanding there's no such thing as even time and space.
Empaths, even my experience before I understood what it was, our edges are blurry, and when we talk about the aura, those edges aren't as defined. And that is very, very, very comparable to codependence, energetically and psychologically. So a lot of times those things do go hand in hand, and there's some reasons for that. There's energetic and, learned behavior, I think, as well. And probably generational tendencies, all of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I did actually start off my journey with fibromyalgia. They didn't have a name for the pain that I was feeling.
Yeah.
But I think when you say physically and also mentally, I was stressed out during that time, and my body was experiencing the stress as pain.
And you, as an empath, in that case, you may have been tapping into essentially like humanity's pain body, to use that term, and when you claim your space, whether it's auric or beyond that, in your bodily space, and own that with your own essence, sometimes that changes and that shifts, and then people don't have that pain anymore as well.
Right. Yeah.
Whether we want to call that like codependence, might be like stopping codependent behavior and becoming aware of it, but it also can be like energetically owning your space.
And I think that when you have a lower vibration, it's true. It's like your guard is down and you're very vulnerable.
You're more porous.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
But if you fill it with joy or high vibration, other things can't come in that are lower vibratory because they can't exist there.
Yeah. I used to call it being very unfuckwithable.
Yeah.
Because that's how I felt. And I also felt free.
Yeah.
That was a word I used a lot at the beginning when I discovered spiritual hygiene, really.
Yes.
I needed to protect my space.
Yes. And we have like probably 20 techniques in the Aura Alchemy book for that. Cleaning your aura, clearing it, filling it with high vibe energy, and then using it to manifest whatever you desire.
I feel like it's something that you have to do every day. You put your clothes on, you wash your body. Like, we do all of these things for the physical body. That's the obvious, but we don't think that our energetic body is just as important.
You brush your teeth, wash your face at night, and then you clear yourself.
A lot of people who listen to my podcast are just in that spiritual awakening phase. Yeah. So, just maybe explaining what the aura is. The aura is amazing. I mean, I know that some people have measured it up to like 80 feet, probably even more now. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's a fun entrance into energy too. So I'm more of a science person. So I define auras as biologically generated electromagnetic fields that are made of subatomic particles called photons, which also comprise light and electricity. So that's what an aura actually is. It is your electromagnetic field. Now, the thing that's neat about photons, I'm a particle physics geek. I really like geeking out on particle physics. So part of the thing that's neat about photons is their light. So the light from the sun, the light from the lamp, the light from, the overhead light, that's all photons. We can't actually see photons. We see them bouncing off matter that bounces them in a spectrum that our eyes can detect. That's why when you turn off the light and you're in pitch black, you can't see the matter. You can't see the couch, the bed. You might run into it because there's no photons bouncing off of it. So the neat thing about photons, they're light, they're electricity. When electrical energy and electricity move through a wire to, say, power a lamp, if it's an uninsulated copper wire, there's some electrons that are kind of like the medium for the electricity. They travel through the wire. The photons, the light, travel in a field on the outside of the wire. They are an electromagnetic field. Photons have no mass. All they are is force and charge. So if you think about that wire, that uninsulated wire in its field, then you think about the photons that move through the brain, the body, that cause almost all of our biological functions, automatic and conscious, including our thought, are the movement of photons. It's all a field. So every little nerve fiber has its own little field. And then we have a composite field that's a combination of all of the movement of photons in our body, which is why auras, I stay medical intuitive 23 years, auras are mutable and constantly changing. They're never the same. They may have tendencies, absolutely. There may be certain things we notice that are similar in people, sure. But the energy body in the body and outside of the body as it extends out in its field is always changing. It's never static.
Is this caused by, or can it be caused by our emotions,
Everything.
our health?
Everything. Our thought, our emotions, our experience, the amount of light from the moon, the things in our field, other people, plants, animals, non-native electromagnetic fields like Wi-Fi and stuff like that. Everything and anything, internal and external forces, absolutely. But when we strengthen our frequency in a high vibratory way, I always say joy is the highest vibration in the known universe. So joy is a great way to do it. When we, example, steep ourselves in joy, we repeat the word joy like a mantra, we fill the aura with joy, which we certainly do a lot in the book, then we become more infallible in our high frequency, where then we are less of.
Yeah. When I teach Reiki, which I love to do because it's such a great intro into energy. And I think it's fascinating that, all of our chakras up and down our body also come off of us.
Oh, yeah.
So everything that is going on inside of you actually is reflecting outside of you. And we know this when we're at a party and someone negative walks in the room, and it changes the entire vibe of the room.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm very into traditional Chinese medicine. So I really look at meridians and, what's happening in the organs of the body, because it's a medical intuitive, and why, the different types of energy that feed those organ meridian systems and why things show up the way they do and things like that. So whether we're looking at chakras, which, I've written many books about over the years, or meridians, which I'm kind of more into now, although it's all great.
Yeah.
They're all like moving, rivers, wheels, orbs of light, constantly changing, moving, and radiating, because those are photons. That is light moving through those channels. And to me, those channels aren't fixed. Yes, there's, I forget how many, 400 plus acupuncture points. There's many meridians. Like there's, a lot of different theories on chakras from 1 to 144 plus in the Upanishads, etc. There's all of these potential constructs, but really everything is so dynamic and every human is different. That's my one takeaway. As 23 years as a medical intuitive and probably 28 years as a, someone like consciously exploring multidimensionality, teaching shamanism for 23 years. There were very few true, hard and fast truths, because everything exists. But I will say every human is different and dynamic. Nobody stays the same and nobody is the same. Everybody's an individual. Perhaps we're also all the same being. We can be paradoxical about it, and in multidimensionality, everything exists in infinity and beyond. And it's all always changing, mutable, moving. Everything is alive with consciousness, life force, and more than we can understand. It's all moving. So I think when we start to look at something like the aura, we start to work, sink into the body through Reiki, through the different things. One thing we end up needing to do is surrender to the infinite unknowability of everything and let go into that flow. When we do that and we charge it with whatever high frequency we want, we allow ourselves to flow with the current of high vibrational life force and have a great experience. That's kind of my philosophy on it too.
Yeah,
Kind of get
absolutely.
me going with it, but
So when I think of alchemy, I'm thinking of almost like cooking
Mhm.
in many ways, right? And one of the things that I've noticed that even down to like what gemstones you have in your field.
Mhm.
When in my ancestral journey, I was really trying to connect with the land that I was from. So I had a
Yeah.
friend who lived in Czechoslovakia and he went there. He's a client. He brought me back Moldavite. I,
Oh,
you know,
good.
I wore Moldavite for like a year and
Right.
it changed my field, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it became part of my field. And when I took it off, I couldn't put it back on. I took it off for, I think, a massage or something like that.
Interesting.
And I've since tried to put it back on. It's just too intense. Like I'll wear it for a while and then I'm like,
Wow. What do you
yeah, and
think
then I
happened
stop.
in that time and then after? What's your assessment of it?
Well, I mean, I wore it for a great year. I felt really naked without it. I felt like it
Hmm.
really what had become like a part of,
Yeah.
my journey. And I think it just served its
That's
time
what
with
I was
me.
kind of thinking.
And yeah, and I did do a lot of exploring at that time. I was very much into meditation at that time. And I think
Hmm.
maybe I needed to be more grounded. I think that I needed more grounded.
Yeah.
So when we talk about
Yeah.
alchemy, I needed to remove that,
Yes.
from me to be able to bring other energies in
Yeah.
to alchemize my energy to where I
Right.
needed to be. And
Right.
it didn't happen really consciously, but looking back, I believe that's my soul knew.
Oh, your soul totally knew. And
Wow.
a high vibrational friend to follow that guidance and provide you with something so
Right.
crucial to your ancestral soul journey too.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
gift to have that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
alchemy, the traditional idea of alchemy during the Renaissance was the idea of changing base metals into gold. And it was actually the original chemistry. There
Mhm.
were some really neat things that those alchemists slash chemists
Mhm.
created, like the philosopher's tree was like some different metals that they combined with some acid and it made like what looked like a gold tree, so there were a lot of really neat things where they were starting to tap into the matter
Mhm.
and energy. They didn't really realize yet that it was energy
Yeah.
too, but the matter and energy of the world and how we could change it. So
Right.
changing base metals into gold. Now, the other side of alchemy is the inner marriage of the masculine and feminine to create, essentially, they talked about it as immortality. So they would talk about the emerald tablet and the philosopher's stone and all of these things that helped us alchemize ourselves into an inner marriage and an inner union, which we're all kind of still seeking to live that out in our romantic relation. Not all, but a lot, in our romantic
Yeah.
relationships too. So the idea of alchemy, though, is really one of transformation. We could use like the metaphor of taking lemons and making lemonade, something that might taste sour becomes
Right.
something that tastes really good and feels good to your body. So aura alchemy is about alchemizing your aura, turning it into a force of power and light in your being. And then we use it for manifestation. And we use it pretty intensely and specifically for manifestation in this book. One of the things that's in there that came to me in shamanic journey, and this is not like an out there thing for me in journey, but thank goodness and just ultimate gratitude to Hay House for seeing the potential of this and letting me write about this in a book. Because, my previous books were fantastic and I got to put a lot of fun stuff in there, goddessy things and stuff that I could kind of insert in there. And so I got to share a lot. But in Aura Alchemy, I got to go really deep into particle physics and the things that I learned from my guides and shamanic journey. So one of those things is using these particles in the world, including in our auric field, that are called neutrinos, specifically for manifestation. So alchemizing those with the light and the photonic light, essentially, of our thoughts, changing them, bouncing them out into this other dimension, changing their angular momentum, which is like their spin, and changing our reality. So it's breaking down the particle physics, my theories on the particle physics of some of the ways manifestation happens, and supercharging. And that's really what we do in Aura Alchemy. So it gets like very intensive and fun.
Yeah. Well, my listeners have listened to me over the years talk about the Rasha machine, which is a scalar energy machine.
Oh,
and it was
I
created
think
by
I've heard of that machine. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I was doing it. He would play them every Saturday and I would participate. And I got really into it. Had him on my podcast. I'm a big fan of his. And during that time, there was two things that were very specific that was happening to me. I felt that there was this bubble of protection about 20 or more feet outside of me. I
Yes.
felt very protective. I almost couldn't see it. It's almost like there was something outside of that that I
Yeah.
was very protected by this bubble of protection. And
Nice.
it was like, if gosh, now that maybe it was my aura had just grown that big. I didn't even think
Could
about
be.
that.
Could be.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've talked about this many times, but I never
Yeah.
actually thought it could have just been my field.
Might have charged that field up really
Yeah.
extensively with
Because
your
I
own
was in
frequency.
this. So much was happening, lots of synchronicities. Obviously, my vibration was super high. Also, I started to receive a lot of things, kind of like you've said.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I had this experience with nature outside. And then I end up discovering that this experience was written about, I think, in the 1500s, and it's called the alchemical marriage.
Yeah.
And
The sacred marriage. Yeah.
I was out in my backyard and it was a strange day because I just had another experience prior to this with the moon. And I've always been a full moon person. So this was, it kind of goes along with the energy, but I see this, it's a new moon. So it's a crescent moon.
Yeah.
And I see this in my left eye. I actually can see my backyard where I saw this. And then in my right eye, the sun, and they were equal in my backyard.
Neat.
I was like, this is really cool. And it dawned on me how, you can't have light without dark, masculine without feminine, and all this was coming to me and I was getting it. And it was almost like the sun was shining so on the moon that she was almost being crowned.
Yes.
So the rays, I mean, it was really magical.
Beautiful.
And all of a sudden, a dove, one white dove came above my head.
Wow.
And so, I didn't have my phone because I'm like, no one's going to ever believe any of this. So I'm taking a picture of the dove. I was just like, this is amazing. Like there was so much wisdom. Then that was 3 years ago. Fast forward to this past year, finding out about the same story, basically, in the same theory and the same idea that was written about. It was a Rosicrucian story of the alchemical marriage. And they even had the same picture. They had there's art to it. The sun, the moon with the dove above.
Wow. The idea of the sacred marriage in the alchemy of masculine feminine goes back in mythology into ancient history. In the myths of Inanna and Dumuzi, in the myths of Ishtar and Tammuz, then Isis and Osiris, it's still there. This was present even in ancient history. And that kind of keeps coming through. And that's why then in, the Renaissance and during the period where there were alchemists, they were taking some of those mythological ideas and applying them essentially to chemistry.
I heard recently in the Ark of the Covenant, Mana actually is a conductor. And it's even shown in some of the Gothic cathedrals, the process.
Interesting.
And also when you look at the book, The Alchemist, which is one of my most favorite books, which has an entire mystery and divinity of its own, that every time you read it, it kind of like meets you where you are. And it has this magical way of connecting with your journey, which is also alchemy.
Life is alchemy, essentially, if we choose. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's the other thing. You and I were talking before our interview about the yang nature of society and people being yin deficient and, all of the things that are stirred up. And that's another opportunity where we can alchemize ourselves and then our world. When we come into that yin yang balance, physically, energetically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we experience inner union of all aspects of ourselves, which isn't just a one-time thing. I mean, it's a continual process. But when we keep doing that, we're evolving. And then we are contributing to, if we want to go back to a composite electromagnetic field, the composite electromagnetic field of humanity and the earth, and to that evolution as well.
Right. Yeah. A beautiful, I think, experience to everyone with that eclipse that we had this year when feminine energy got to be like front stage.
That's how
for
you
all
experience.
to
Yeah,
see.
people experienced it.
Yeah, I actually didn't get to experience because I was in I'm in Colorado, so and
Oh,
unfortunately,
I did see it. I had the
did?
glasses and did see it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it also serves as a way to connect humanity back to nature. I mean, right now everybody's always like looking at phones. So for people to like take the time to get the glasses and go be outside during the day and look at that is a win for humanity. Because a lot of times everybody would be inside and
right.
distracted.
And
And
collectively,
and our separation from nature is, part of the disease in society and the human body. So when we connect with nature in any way, that can be really good.
so it kind of brings everybody to
It brings
awareness.
people outside and looking at a astronomical
Yes,
phenomenon,
a
I mean,
celestial event.
and connecting with nature and, noticing something outside of ourselves.
Yeah, I'm very affected by the moon and the sun. I didn't realize I was affected by the sun until a few years ago. But if there's a full moon, I feel like a wolf and
Mhm.
I'm ready to like howl.
Yeah.
But I never have liked that new moon. It's not that I didn't like it,
Mm,
but I always know I feel a lack of energy.
that's how you experience it. Yeah.
Yes, I experience it.
Hmm.
And when when it's about to be the full moon, I have a little weird thing too. And then when the full moon
Mm.
actually comes, I feel well.
The moon cycle, I think it lands differently for everybody, but the moon cycles, I mean, I'm really kind of like scientific about things. The
Yeah,
degree of light exposure at night and the tidal pull both affect the human body. And
yeah,
we see that there's a lot of things you hear about
yeah.
too.
A lot of people go into labor.
Yeah, in nursing homes, what happens on the full moon with
Really?
the
Wow.
elderly with sundowners, because there's more light throughout the night close to the full moon, essentially their melatonin isn't function. I think it's a melatonin thing with
Okay.
sundowners. That's my theory. That's not
Yeah,
science, not a doctor, informational purposes only,
yeah.
etc. But those things affect. So for you, you might be somebody who for whatever reason, it's landing that way for you.
Yeah.
There will
Yeah.
be people with other things. And, the original way that when women are cycling, when the moon cycle would be in harmony with the moon, we would have the moon time, we would have the menstrual time over the new
Yep.
moon. That was the natural cycle. Everybody would go, the book The Red Tent talks about it,
Oh,
when further back into ancient history, everybody who was cycling would be together. They would, over new moon, everybody would have their moon time. And then when we hit full moon, everybody would ovulate,
right.
and we were in tune with that. Now that we
Yes.
aren't outside under the light of the moon, the sun, we aren't, as connected with nature, things are different. And there are a lot of people who have that opposite now. And that usually there's some different things that have to do with the Constitution now, I think, too, because society evolves. But that's how pivotal the moon and its light and its tidal pull are on our physiology. And you were talking earlier too about the solar flare, solar storm cycle. That's another thing that is electromagnetic energy. It's an explosion. Think about too, the sun. It's nuclear fusion and fission that powers the sun.
Yeah.
So it's the point where the nucleuses of atoms are slamming into each other so hard that they're blasting everything apart, and they're releasing, along with the matter and the energy, they're releasing electrical energy in the form of photons. That's the light that we see. And then when it has a real flare, that's a huge additional electromagnetic field moving through the solar system, affecting everything. And it never stops. It keeps radiating out, even though it's diffusing. Eventually, it touches the Earth's electromagnetic field. And that's when we see Aurora Borealis came up.
Just like you were saying earlier, that we have this field, of course, Earth has that too, which protects us from, that flare burning us to death. However, it can affect all the things that are out in our space, like all of the satellites and all that stuff.
Everything. And everything's affected. And then here's humanity like causing our own effect, putting all those satellites there, putting all this Wi-Fi and whatever else we're up to nowadays. Good, bad, whatever. It's all part of evolution. Humanity is part of Earth. Whatever we're doing seems to be part of the process.
Wow.
And hopefully, I think it would be more palatable and healthful if we came back around to connection with nature, but we're doing what we're doing right now.
Early on in my journey, I was, going to mindfulness classes and trying my best to get off meds because I had been on Paxil for 8 years.
Yeah.
Any chance I got to take a bath and lock myself in the bathtub, in the bathroom, I would.
Yeah.
And I was just, like I said, becoming a little bit more mindful in my life.
Yeah.
And I noticed this bubble bath in the corner of my bathtub, and I never noticed it before. I never read it. It was a philosophy bottle, and it had the most beautiful poem on the front of it about beginning again. You got your I's, forgot to cross your T's, begin again. You climb the highest mountain to find you're at the bottom of a bigger one, begin again.
Yeah.
It just was beautiful. And
That's beautiful.
It was a moment I never would forget. And many times I've heard, interviewing hundreds of people over the years, is that, water is such a conductor comes to energy and us connecting. A lot of people, receive a lot of stuff in water.
Yes, we do.
If that's one of the reasons why, or what led you to your card, to your
that is
exact.
It is. And, the thing with a bath too, it's the conductivity of water, so it can amplify our intentions, which we do a lot in the Blissful Bath deck. It's also a moment of self-care. It's time we take for ourselves, where, some people maybe have their devices or whatever in the bathroom, but we're more likely to take some time alone, and to be present with our body. Also, in traditional Chinese medicine, to thermally warm the kidneys is good, for 90% of people, because a lot of us need that, even in warmer seasons. So just some really great, just baseline health effects before then we get into, okay, in the conductivity of water, how could we enact a ritual? And then in the case of the Blissful Bath cards, not only can we enact a ritual, then we also have the intradermal opportunity to absorb herbs, essential oils, nutrients, and, also catalyzers, and do a ritual and have an intention. And it can all kind of come together in this little bouquet of self-care, which we all need. And it goes back to the original pre-conversation we were having about living in a very yang world, where we need yin time. A bath is yin time. Yet the ultimate yin activity in traditional Chinese medicine is sleep. It is where you feel and be, as opposed to think and do.
Yeah.
So a bath lets us do that. Do we want to pick a card for our listeners?
Oh, that'd be amazing. Yes, let's do it. I love that.
The Blissful Bath cards, it's really fun. It's like a little recipe box.
Oh my God.
The book, that thing is still in there. The book is all about the history of baths. You get to hear, it's pretty interesting, actually, how baths
I
went
love
back
how I can
into
appreciate all of your
history.
history and your scientific background.
It's fun. And it shows the spiritual evolution of it as well.
Yeah.
So let's pick one from the intention suit, because there's
Okay.
relaxation, energy, wellness, and intention. So our intention card, it's healthy microbiome. So it's something that's a little bit more medical intuitive.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah. So I'll read you some of this. It's so on the card, the entries are on the cards. We have ingredients, we have an intention, which is kind of like an affirmative statement, which we'll talk about. And then we have a ritual that we do.
Nice.
So we use our intention, and we use the conductivity of the water, the time we're taking for ourselves, the ingredients, the thermal warmth, etc. So the intention is, I allow my body to come into the highest symbiotic balance with my flora, which promotes optimum health. And this bath is a gentle antifungal and antibacterial. It also, so it can help with things like toenail fungus and stuff like that. And there are a lot of skin conditions and things like that in traditional Chinese medicine we call a result of damp accumulation. This helps us move that specifically from the liver channel, especially, but all of the channels. And you can also use it as a foot bath if you want. So you can use it either way. So the ingredients, and then there's a ritual too. So we have like a lot of, great things. So the ingredients are 1 cup of fresh or dried thyme leaves and stems, which is aromatic, antifungal, antibacterial, antimicrobial. I'd prefer if you use organic. It's up to you. Okay. So you probably have that in your spice rack.
Of course, yeah.
You might use the whole bottle because you have a cup, but you can get a new one. 1 cup of fresh or dried parsley, which we use parsley for kidney meridian chi. So it helps support the movement of that chi, because that's our foundational chi, just above our constitutional level.
Where were you during my kidney stone?
Yes, there's a lot to unpack with that condition too. But so if we move kidney channel chi, then it feeds the other organ meridians, and it helps us release this damp accumulation, which can be fungal, etc. And it gives our microbiome space to proliferate the good bacteria. So parsley is also mildly diuretic, which can be nice. It might help us like drop water weight and things like that. And then so that's your bath for your body. If you were going to use a foot bath, you won't use this on your body. If you were treating like foot fungus, because it's a little stronger, you could use that, and you could add a cup of fresh or dried oregano leaves, which are highly antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral, and 5 drops of oregano essential oil. So then you're really like telling athlete's foot fungus to go away.
That's so fun. Me and my girls do
Foot rituals.
Some sort of foot ritual.
Yeah.
At least once a month. We all bought foot baths, and we
It's fun.
It's
That's so a nice self-care and bonding.
We've been trying every kind we can find.
So this is, you can use it either way. And if you are going into the top with it, you're sinking in. You can, gather up the thyme and the parsley, and you could put it like on your chest, like a poultice. Once it's in the warm water, you can kind of put it on your body, let your body absorb it. You can put it on your tummy if you get bloating. That's a good place. And your belly button is a place what we use to like clear, ancestral, especially from the maternal side. So it's another place you put salt in your belly button to clear that, if you're clearing ancestral stuff like we were talking about. And then you can do that bath first, and then put the other ingredients in and sit on the edge, and then put your feet in if you wanted to do your feet. And you use that affirmation, I allow my body to come into the highest symbiotic balance with my flora, which promotes my optimum health. So that will allow that good bacteria to have more space, because the fungal bacterial stuff that's not helping can leave.
Oh, very Ayurvedic as well. I love it.
Yeah, all of it.
I love it.
Some of these are more energy-ish.
Yeah.
But this is more of a health, medical, intuitive one.
Amazing. I'm super excited. I'm going to grab that as soon as we get off.
It's so fun. It's
It's
like so
so
much fun.
amazing.
And
And I
it's a divination deck too, like
wow.
unwind with green tea scrub. This teaches you how to make a scrub and it's a serenity scrub. I let go of all that does not serve me to make space for high vibe wins. That's the
Oh my God.
intention with that one. There's just so many good things. There's hair masks. There's
What?
bath fizz. So you don't have to take the time to make a bath bomb, but you can have the experience of a bath bomb. You just throw it in there because I feel
Oh
like
my God.
making the bath bombs and the molds and all this stuff is a big project, but you can
That's
just
no,
make
we
it a
love
bath.
to do stuff like that. I love
Yeah,
it. I
you'll
love
have
it.
fun with
Love
it.
it. Yeah, I'm gonna get that and the Aura book because I'm always looking for also different exercises. So I was really excited that you
Mhm.
said there's many exercises in that. And also,
There's
you know, it's
lots.
interesting. I got my kidney stone almost a
Mm.
month, 1 month to the day after my dad died. And
Well,
yeah,
ancestral.
yeah.
Coming
And
right up on a constitutional level, right out through that kidney channel.
well, thank you so much, Amy. I'm serious. I like love you and I love what you
Oh,
teach. And I
thank
love
you.
you're a great teacher. Really,
Yeah,
truly. I love that
thank you.
there's a lot of science behind what we do, whether people
Yeah,
realize that
there
or
is.
not.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing that. I think that people think
Yeah.
it's all woo, but it's really not. It's really
It's
not.
not. Some of it, I mean, there's a lot of research now about the multidimensional side and the shamanic side too.
Yeah.
But we don't know everything. So it might seem woo, but all these things that seemed woo are getting proven. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
yeah.
what's next? I can only imagine.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Well, it's so good to meet you, and I
Me
appreciate you coming on.
too.
I can't wait to get your book and your cards. I'm really excited about them.
I'm excited for you too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell everybody where they want to get it, with the cards up and your new book.
Yes, so everywhere books are sold. Aura Alchemy is a Hay House book. It's everywhere. There's also a Kindle, and I got to read the audiobook, which was a lot of fun.
Oh, I love that.
Which is nice too if you're, they're both great,
ADHD.
but if you're it's nice to listen in the car, and then it gives you all the meditations and stuff, the processes. There's so many, and
Yeah.
they are said slowly, gently, like in a way where you could use them as the audio. Of course, I always tell you, do not do that while driving a car. Like, do that when you're home, that part. But so the audiobook can be nice. And then Blissful Bath cards are everywhere books are sold as well. So you can get them everywhere. I know they both were in Target. Blissful Baths was in Target a lot.
Okay.
They're both Blissful Baths is definitely in Barnes and Noble. I mean, it's
Okay.
everywhere.
All
And
right.
all the online places.
Then I'll go physically get it today because I love going there anyways.
Yeah.
So, do you also take clients or do you have classes that you do?
So I'm a medical intuitive. I've been doing that for 23 years. I do have a small amount of one-on-one clients now. I'm like right now I'm booking about 4 months out because I'm usually pretty booked out. There's only one of me. But
Thank
now
you.
I train my atomic healing method medical intuitive
Uh-huh.
apprentices in a certification. So now there's a certification. There's actually 4 levels to it. So I have, atomic healing method certified healers that have learned how I've been doing my 23 years of medical intuitive work. And I teach that course once a year. It's 2024. It starts on October 24th. And then it's a 10 and a half month program where everybody goes through it together and they end up certified in my Atomic Healing Method medical intuitive program. Uh, and then you can do that work. And whether you're beginner, intermediate, advanced, you've never done healing, you've done healing before, you can learn my full method, how I look into the body on a subatomic level, how we find the root cause of disease, ailments, and we provide solutions and how to be healthy, how to see that, how to share that, whether it's ancestral, it's karmic, it's mental, it's emotional, it's physical. We just talk about everything. I'm very heavily in traditional Chinese medicine, so we look at the ways that we can optimize the organ meridians. And plus, you learn how to talk to your own spirit guides at will anytime. So you get like your intuition gets accessed, and then what you learn from me is how to talk to other people's spirit guides, find the root cause of their ailments, get their get the information from their guides and help people, empower people to feel great and to grow. So you learn my method. And it's like so exciting to me. It's an awesome course. It's a lot of live classes. We have some study groups with we have some required reading and stuff like that. It's like a pretty, it's not overwhelming, and I'm very gentle about it, but there's homework and stuff. We have tons of resources in the portal, and you have lifetime access to any updates. So it's a great value. And then you also are an atomic healing method certified medical intuitive. And I've been doing it for over 20 years. So I had private apprentices for a long time. The last few years, I'm certifying people, and it lets us reach more people too.
I love that.
Because I can't see everybody. So now they can do what I do.
So you took all of your gems together.
Yes.
To teach this class.
Yeah. And a lot of it's experiential, because, to really understand from a medical intuitive perspective what's going on in the body, and to talk to people as spirit guides. It's also the process of becoming multidimensional and functioning in that space all the time. So that means that then you're in a space where you talk to your spirit guides all the time at will. So you heal yourself, your life, in the process. You trade a ton too with everybody. So everybody gets a lot of healing throughout the program. And then you graduate and you're ready. And we give you some business support too. And I'm very much into like the abundance mindset. So we give you some support in that. So you're like ready to conquer the world and be a healer.
That sounds awesome. And they can go to your website to find that as well?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, they sure can. Atomic Healing Method certification. That's what they'll be looking for.
I'm always looking for things to learn more, because it just makes me feel so much better.
Me too.
I get so excited when I'm introduced to a new class or a new modality.
Yes.
It keeps you younger, I promise you.
It does. And, a lot of us are in the space where we want to give back and want a career with meaning. And that's who ends up taking the course, and they're thriving. They're working as healers, and they're able to shift from work that doesn't feel as fulfilling to doing work where they feel they're helping people. And they're also, I've always said 23 years as a medical intuitive and teaching shamanism, my clients and my students are my blessings, because it opens me up to this just infinite world of humanity's multidimensional capabilities. And you get to see that.
Well, and you know what? This is a great additional modality to add if you're already working with energy. I bet this is really good to work with that.
All of it. And a lot of body workers. I get a lot of people who do massage and other hands-on work, and eventually we get a little burnt out on that, and they want to do more that's energetic, and they're also ready, and then they integrate that in, which is awesome. Cranial practitioners. We get a lot of people like that too.
I know a lot of them, so I will be sharing this far and wide. Yes.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yay.
That'll be great. And I like that you do it live too, Amy. A lot of people are like, sign up for my course and watch my videos.
I know.
No, which is fine. I'm not dogging anybody.
No, I mean, it's good.
A lot to say about,
I like to teach live. We have we have like incredible resources, audios. You get like my atomic healing audios and things for your intuition. You get all these resources for the things you learn. We have like book study groups and stuff like that, but I like to teach live. And part of my, part of what I talk to you guys about in the course is I want you to find your zone of genius. So for some people, it might be chakra based or TCM, or they can see and feel and sense the herbs people need, stuff like that. I want you to find your zone of genius. Part of my zone of genius is teaching people how to be multidimensional. So I want to be with you live when you're journeying. I want to be with you live when you're trading readings, and I can help you expand that, talk to your guides, talk to other people's spirit guides. That's like part of my gift. So that's the part I like to teach. And I haven't figured out how to do that anyway, but live, because it's interactive.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. It was great to meet all your listeners.
I'm going to go get your cards. I can't wait.
I'm so excited.
All right, Amy. Have a great day.
Thank you, Shanna.
Sense of Soul.